Test, 1, 2, 3, test, 1, 2, 3, test, 1, 2, 3. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, across our Kyber Empire. It's yours truly, the Emperor, the first of his name, the king of Triple B Games, the director of Video Game Division, and many other fancy titles, where today we're coming back at you with another guide to take you to the top, the peakity peak of Marvel Snap, and that's going to be the top 5 best beginner decks in Marvel Snap for, I guess, almost 2023 at this point. I want to help you guys, especially newer players who are coming to Marvel Snap, get the very best decks before you even get to those higher pools. So we're going to get you decks that's going to keep you covered all the way up to 214 collection level. And the best part about it is these decks are going to be staple for when you move into the higher pools. You're going to be using some degree of these cards and decks. So if you're ready, snap on that like button. Be sure to subscribe to our ever-growing empire. And let's get into the video. We're gonna have several graphics, and I'll leave links down below if you want to download them. Instead of saving the best for last, I want to just share my personal favorite deck with you guys. The deck that I truly believe is the best beginner deck, and that's gonna be the Devil Dinosaur deck. The reason why I love this deck is because you're gonna be placing some absurd high-powered cards onto the field, and there are just some massively deadly combos going on here. And to be honest, I feel like this is the simplest deck to run out of the rest that we're going to describe today. And even more towards the end game, Devil Dino is still going to be very much a viable deck, and it's pretty flexible with whatever cards you want. In these graphics, I highlighted the cards that I believe are the must-have, and you can kind of just run with whatever. And Dino's going to provide the most flexibility, in my opinion, because truly all you're going to want to do is just have as big of a hand as possible, which again, you only can have as much as 7, and that's going to be very easy with this deck, because with this deck, as we're progressing through the rounds, we're keeping a high amount of cards in our hand. Obviously, Moon Girl's gonna be the main kicker because she's gonna duplicate your hand, and if you have already a Devil Dino in your hand or Iron Man, you feel like you're basically guaranteed to win the round. But the other cards I'm recommending in here, such as Cable, Mantis, White Queen, Sentinel, their job is when you're placing them onto the field, you're pretty much mostly guaranteed, at the exception of Mantis, to keep your hand steady and not lose any cards. You place them down, you keep one in your hand, and sometimes you might get a good card through Cable or White Queen. And there's gonna be a couple of other suggestions here. This is mostly, in the grand scheme of things, an ongoing base deck with the effect. So we can throw in some things, for example, like Onslaught. Onslaught's just gonna double your ongoing effect. So doubling your Devil Dinosaur, or doubling whatever Iron Man just did. Cosmo's gonna be pretty helpful. This is mostly an ongoing deck, so you can use Cosmo pretty flexibly. You just gotta make sure you don't accidentally make Cosmo run into Moon Girl, because you wanna make sure Moon Girl can duplicate the hand. But otherwise, this is gonna be very helpful to stop things like maybe Shang-Chi down the road, who's gonna try to destroy your Devil Dino. By far, this is my favorite beginner deck, and I think a lot of you guys will agree, and this is going to be pretty staple with Devil Dino, Moon Girl, Iron Man as you progress even farther beyond Pool 1. Let's talk about my second favorite deck in Marvel Snap, and I call it the Apoca Dino deck, where it's a hybrid between the Apocalypse discard effect as well as Devil Dino. As I mentioned before, Devil Dino's kind of a good flexible type of deck to work with, and oftentimes you can squeeze in a secondary type of deck in there, and I firmly believe Apocalypse is going to be a pretty solid one here. We're going to primarily focus on trying to get Apocalypse as high of a power as possible, and I firmly believe the must-have cards are going to be obviously the Apocalypse, Lady Sif, Blade, Wolverine, Swordmaster, and Moon Girl. The overall idea of this is to constantly try to discard Apocalypse out of your hand and basically bring them back in. It's almost kind of like an Eldritch deck of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you kind of are familiar with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks out there. So the main synergy you're going to really want to lean into are things like Lady Sif, Blade, and Swordmaster getting their opportunity to slice of Apocalypse. The good thing about this deck, Apocalypse, is realistically the only 6 cost card. That way, when Lady Sif comes in, you're not going to have a hard time trying to find that highest cost card in your hand, which is going to be Apocalypse. Now, Blade and Swordmaster, you're going to want to be careful. You're probably not going to want to use Blade or Swordmaster until your hand's a little bit skinnier, and the chances are increased of hitting Apocalypse. The problem is you're not always guaranteed to hit Apocalypse with Blade or Swordmaster. You might accidentally slice up something else. But the good thing is, we have some cards that kind of still take advantage of that. For example, I'm throwing Wolverine in here. So in case, let's say you miss Apocalypse and you hit Wolverine, well, the good thing about Wolverine, even though you're going to discard it, they'll just throw themselves onto the field, so it's almost like a free card. And you might be wondering, why is Moon Girl here? I firmly believe if you can try to get Moon Girl to duplicate your Lady Sif, and Apocalypse, that means you're going to get more Lady Sif opportunities to slice up Apocalypse. And if you can duplicate Apocalypse and have maybe 2 of them, that's going to make your job easier to slice up the right card with your discard effects of Swordmaster Blade or Lady Sif. And I think with this deck, you're going to have a lot of flexibility to throw in whatever else, because in pool 1, you don't have a ton of great discard options. But as you get into pool 2 and pool 3, you're going to find a lot more powerful cards to really make the discard effects a lot more effective down the road. Let's say you're not getting the right plays of Apocalypse, you're almost guaranteed to get something good going with Devil Dino, Iron Man, and the Moon Girl combo like we talked about before. And America Chavez, we're going to talk more about her later, but the reason why I like her is, again, in case the Apocalypse thing doesn't work out, you have a good turn 6 play. And the most important thing is she's not going to draw herself, and she's going to stay in the deck, which increases the likelihood of getting a better card in your deck that you might be needing. My number 3 favorite deck that I'm going to recommend to you guys is going to be the Odin Reveal deck. Although I don't love this as much as some of the previous decks we talked about, it is a lot of fun when you can make the combos work. This deck is primarily relying on cards with on-reveal effects. And the cards you're really going to want are Odin, White Tiger, Spider-Woman, Ironheart, Wolfsbane are the must-haves that we're going to be running here. And you got some flexibility for the other spots. I really think the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be a lot of fun to utilize. And basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try to set your most powerful on-reveal cards in a particular zone. So White Tiger, Spider-Woman, Ironheart, likely you're going to want to try to group together, because then Odin can reactivate their on-reveal effects. And this is especially great for White Tiger, where you're going to amplify your power in the other zones, and even in zones that you might not be able to reach, that might be locked up. White Tiger can keep spawning 7 power tigers, so you're going to get 14 in one side, 14 in another. Hopefully you have Spider-Woman, because then you can inflict reduction of power, -1 power on enemy cards in the zone Spider-Woman is in 2 times over. And then Wolfsbane's going to be increasing the power of those cards onto the field. A really fun deck. The problem I have with this deck is, unlike the Devil Dino or Apocalypse, you don't have a lot of backup options. So you really got to hope Odin shows up to the party here. And if he doesn't, you're not going to be able to basically have double the effects. Number 4 on the list is going to be the Carnage Self-Destroy deck. This deck is very interesting because it's mostly a low-level cost play, where the other decks we talked about rely on building up to a big climax towards the end in round 5 and 6. Here, it's mostly low-level cards, getting as many cards onto the field, and then increasing their power, and then throwing that cherry on top with either Iron Man or Hulk to try to round out a match. The main combo you're going to try to work out here is you want to try to get Mr. Sinister and Squirrel Girl to multiply cards onto the field, and then eventually you're going to want to pull off the big Carnage Nova or Deathlock Nova play, where you're going to try to destroy your Nova and then increase the power of all those cards you placed onto the field of Squirrel Girl, Mr. Sinister, and likely you're going to get Angel to come onto the field when a card is destroyed and increase their power as well. And in case the Nova thing doesn't work out with all those spawnable Squirrel Girls, Mr. Sinister, when Carnage is eating them up, he's increasing his power by 2. And then again, you got some flexibility in the last few spots. I think Iron Man Hulk is a really good end game play. Colossus, he's going to be a rock. So let's say you have to play Colossus somewhere. You don't have to worry about Carnage or Deathlock destroying them. Nightcrawler is helpful in case you got to get to hard to reach zones, or let's say you don't want to accidentally destroy them. You can just move them somewhere else. And then Enchantress is mostly meant to be a counter play for the ongoing card. So if someone's playing Big Dino, it's meant to try to provide you a good degree of control. So while you're building up a combo, you're preventing things like Devil Dino or Iron Man on that popular early game deck. And then deck number 5 for beginner players is going to be the Move It Heimdall deck. This deck, I'm going to admit, this is probably going to be the most complicated deck to play. Devil Dino, you can literally be playing while you're falling asleep. Heimdall's a massive IQ play. The goal of this deck is pretty much to juice up your multiple man through the help of Forge, Hulkbuster, and then you're going to want to just start moving them around. When they're being moved out, they're leaving a copy of them behind. So if you have Forge, provide multiple man 2 power. You have Hulkbuster increasing their power by 4. So you got a 9 power multiple man that you're going to keep moving around. You can use the power of Doctor Strange to move multiple man. You can use Iron Fist to punch around multiple man. You can hypothetically have like an 11 power multiple man, and then you have Ironheart that can increase their power as well. So the hope is you're gonna have multiple men onto the field, and then you're gonna round it out with Heimdall at the very end to move them all over to the left Again, spawning a copy of Multiple Man. You gotta prepare in advance on setting Multiple Man early on and then moving him as much as possible towards the very end. And then we have American Chavez, mainly to just make sure you're getting the proper cards out. And then in case Heimdall doesn't show up, you're guaranteed to pull her out at the very end for a decent end game play. And that, my friends, is gonna wrap it up for today's video on the top 5 best beginner decks for late 2022, early 2023. Man, the new year's coming around pretty quickly. Let me know down below, what are your favorite beginner decks, if it's one of these or maybe another one that you would recommend to people down below. And more importantly, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you spending your time around. I hope you're enjoying your stay here in the Kyber Empire. And make sure you like, subscribe to this ever-growing empire. And always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today. Oh, it's great to be in the Empire.